And for a look at the papers today, we're joined by the editor of Plain English, Andrew Pegler. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, the broadsheets seem to have lost their maniacal focus solely on Oscar and moved on to other issues, but it's still front and centre.
Well, the Utegate affair, or as I now call it, the Butegate affair, because it has been Butte to watch our politicians conduct themselves with such poise and restraint this week. The latest developments are that Malcolm Turnbull is, surprise, surprise, now in a bit of trouble. There seems to be a bit of the fissures are appearing in the backbenches, and there's, votes coming up about alco pops, immigration issues, and various other things. It's becoming apparent that he may be in some sort of trouble. Interestingly enough, John Howard's come out and said that he knew Gordon Gretsch and he's a good bloke and all that sort of stuff. I just think the whole thing, I read Annabelle Crabb's quarterly essay, and the impression you get of Turnbull is that he's extraordinarily smart, talented, unusual man, but if he has a flaw, it is his lack of patience and ambition. And those two things come together. I think he overreached.
Also, it come through in that essay that how ruthless he can be in his business practices.
Absolutely.
And was prepared to take on anybody.
Anybody, I mean, including the Kerry Packer affair, which is a great anecdote. Yeah, no, he's sort of fearless. So, in a way, he'd be an interesting sort of Prime Minister. I mean, whatever you believe about his politics, he's an unusual guy, and he's not in the Howard mould. He's a bit more of an unusual individual. In
Annabelle's essay, when he took, she wrote about, and it's been written before, of course, but where he took these documents and met up with somebody in a quiet area and
in the rocks somewhere,
and handed over the documents. And now you get this accusation in the News Limited papers today that in fact he met with Gordon Gretsch in the run-up to that committee hearing last week, and that's when they looked at the email. So he was there face to face. That's the accusation. He hasn't. It hasn't been put to him as yet, but that's a suggestion. Yeah,
well, we'll just see how that plays out, It's still going, this thing, and there's so many potentially explosive aspects to it. And Gordon Gretsch, apparently, I think...
Godwin Gretsch.
Oh, sorry, Godwin Gretsch, and I have heard that mistake being made before. Godwin Gretsch, he I gather he's in hospital or something?
Yes,
he's not well? And
he is.
Surprise, surprise, poor guy, anyway.
He's been unwell for quite some time.
Yeah.
The first story you're mentioning there, though, that was the front page of the Financial Review, which we'll just get up and have a look at there. And it talks about Turnbull keeps on swinging, even while you mentioned that the fish is opening up. And, of course, we have that backbench revolt as well, Barry.
He kept on swinging on the 7:30 report last night. I thought his mood was quite extraordinary. He was so determined to be upbeat with Kerry O'Brien. He just was not going to look like somebody who had the weight of the world on his shoulders.
No. Well, he's as Annabelle Crabb entitled it, he will stop at nothing, and nothing will get in his way. And in fact, he ended that report with a bit of a laugh and a bit of a smile, and went on to the next. I think Sky did Sky after that, and
which I think made Anthony Albanese's performance in the Parliament all that more sharper when he was referencing Mark Latham and the false passion and enthusiasm of Mark Latham when they were absolutely under the gun, and he'd say, "We're going well."
Yeah.
All going well.
He really belted that out, Albanese, didn't he?
He did very well. Moving on to your next story now. You're looking at The Age here.
Yeah, the Australian economy, the downturn shorter than expected. The OECD have released a whole series of figures that are very positive for us. They're predicting a sort of 0.3% contraction as opposed to a nearly a 1% contraction as they had in the budget. Obviously this has been greeted favourably by Wayne Swan, surprise, surprise there. The unemployment rate, they claim, will reach around about 7.9% late next year, as opposed to the 8 to 8.25% band that was predicted in the budget. And the interesting thing is the difference between this and the budget predictions is not necessarily a disagreement. It's just that the global economy seems to be picking up faster than people expected, and this is a kind of a revised series of figures. And at a political level, it's a bit of a blow to the opposition, because the OECD have come out and said that the stimulus package and the cash splash and all that sort of stuff has actually done a lot of good. I mean, I guess the biggest fear, of course, in the long run is how this will play out in terms of inflation and those sort of things.
and how soon it means that interest rates will go up.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen too soon.
Interesting observation made by the OECD that Australia could sustain the level of public debt that it was racking up. I keep waiting now for someone, perhaps Paul Krugman, the economist, to write an essay entitled "Maybe It's Worked." Maybe everything the world's done has actually worked.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Time to go on.
It has been an interesting time, that one. So it's good to see that things are looking good for us anyway.
Yes. Now, moving on, you've got the story there that we mentioned, didn't we, Barry, earlier when we were looking at the front pages of the major papers? This one in the Mercury, irresistible story.
Absolutely. I couldn't go past this one. There's apparently the Wallabies down in Tasmania, which, interestingly, I didn't know is the world's largest producer of legally grown opium.
It is.
So the Wallabies are breaking into the opium fields, getting amongst it, getting completely off their nut, and apparently going around and round in circles and creating what has been regarded as possibly crop circles. So there's all these sort of alien sort of fears going on, and of course it all gets down to the fact that it's just these wallabies breaking in, getting high on a bit of opium, which is fine and what they should be allowed to do in this world that we live in, and creating crop circles. And so that's been happening down there in Tassie.
Now, look, I'm going to stick my neck out here and perhaps real ignorance of an issue that I should have knowledge on. But I thought that until those poppies were actually processed, there wasn't much to get high on. So I have doubts about this story.
Yeah, because I think you're supposed to you scratch them, and then the sap that comes out,
and then that gets processed. And I didn't think at its raw stage it could do much to you at all, apart from make you feel very unwell.
But unless the wallabies have
got... So this is a bit of licence here by the Mercury?
Well, surprise, surprise. But unless the wallabies have got themselves very organised and, perhaps they've got some razor blades and they're actually doing their own little bit of...
we don't want science to wreck a good story.
No, you don't want facts to get in the way of a good story,
John Elliott is on page 1 of the Herald Sun.
Yeah, he is. John Elliott, the 67-year-old reinvented media personality, has come out, of course, and he's going to be questioned by police over his claims that women were paid off in the 90s over allegations of rape, up to $5,000 each.
This is when he was at the Carlton Football Club?
Yeah, when he was president of the Carlton Football Club, sorry. So he's come out and revealed this, and in a way it's a bit like Malcolm Turnbull. I think he's overreached, and I think he was... He sort of revealed this at a Tasmanian fundraiser, and this is really coming back to haunt him, because there are now potentials that he could be found to be getting in the way of justice, as we mentioned. That
perversion of the course of justice. Potential charges there. Remind us of the observations that he made that brought this all about, Barry. When he was talking about back in his day.
Well, he said that at that time they paid off 4 or 5 women, and he said that he, from his recollection, at least one of them, in one case, the rate wasn't denied.
Yeah.
And so that's where it gets very sticky for him. And I don't think he had any sense at all when he said this of the legal implications of it. But now that's coming home to roost, and the police will talk to him.
Well, there was an event apparently a couple of weeks ago where he was actually escorted from the room because he had, in fact, too much to drink at a Carlton game. So it may have been
unusual.
One of those events. Yes.
Andrew Pegler, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.